Three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of Sports Medicine Broadcast. No, I'm just kidding. This is 18 Talks. But Mr. Sports Medicine Broadcast is here. See, I didn't mess it up. It's not podcast. It's broadcast.
Yep, there you go.
I think a lot of people mess that up.
A lot of people do.
But we're just talking current events, what's going on in the world of athletic training and sports. We have Mike, we have Jen, we have Ashley, and Jeremy. If you could take, 2-3 sentences to tell the world just who you are and where you practice, I would appreciate it.
All right, let's start with Ashley.
Okay, my name is Ashley Armbruster. I am an athletic trainer at Texas A&M Corpus Christi with women's soccer.
Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jen Shu. I'm a graduate assistant right now at Utah State University, so with volleyball.
Mike?
Mike Hopper, Bishop Lynch High School in Dallas, Texas. Yeah.
All right, and then I'm sure if anybody's listening, they know who Thomas is, so that would leave me, Jeremy Jackson. I'm an athletic trainer. This is my 16th year as a professional working in the Houston area. I actually work at Pasadena High School. I also host the Sports Medicine Broadcast.
You're old.
Podcast. Yeah, I am. I'll be actually on Tuesday. I'll be 39. So.
Woo!
Well, probably the first birthday you have the day off of work, I assume.
No, actually, it's normally on spring break. This is going to be one of the first years in a long time where it has not been on spring break. And then coronavirus worked it out for me. So.
Oh. Now, are all of our sports canceled or postponed right now?
So
for the time, yeah. So.
Yeah. So at Pasadena, the whole school is closed for at least, we're just finishing up spring break this week. So next week has already been canceled. The UIL in the state of Texas, which is the general governing body, has said no sports until March 29th, no competitions. So individual schools can hold practices as they see fit, using what they deem as best practices to keep the social distance or whatever it's called. So.
Yeah, so for our school, last week was our spring break, so we ended up extending spring break for a week again. And then we're supposed to be starting classes back on March 23rd, but there are no practices at least until the 30th. And kind of talking with my coaches and stuff, they think that even that's going to get pushed back. But they just announced yesterday that all of our sports are officially canceled. So besides practices, which we might be able to do in April for my sport, which is out of season right now. But that is still up in the air, so they're going to decide that.
Yeah, we're out of school. We're on spring break now. We're out of school the following week for sure. But TAPS has canceled all of athletics until April 12th. So, and we're only allowed to practice if our school is actually in regular classes. So if we're doing any type of online stuff at all, we're not allowed to practice. So, and it sounds like we're probably going to be out a while.
So we canceled classes from Friday through Tuesday. So because of that, we can't practice. And then we're kind of, higher up people are talking on Wednesday about whether or not to continue practices, and we'll find out then. But so I've been off for a few days now, and it's kind of weird. But our full times I've been there just to take care of anyone who needs it, and then all the grad students are kind of forced to go home. So yeah, just hanging out.
So let's start with the negatives, and then we'll get to the positives. How is this negatively affecting your guys' normal routines and what you do for a living and paying bills and stuff? Any big negatives there besides missing your athletes?
So, hey, Mike, do you say your guys or do you say y'all yet?
I've been saying y'all for a long time before I got to Texas.
Okay.
Because and Thomas could probably agree with me here. Being from Southern Illinois, I am still from the South, although it's above the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, it's a unique dynamic, but I also like to say y'all.
You say y'all? All right. It's just so different for me because I am from Houston. I'm from Texas. I'm from, Houston is in South Texas. So all we ever say is y'all, unless I'm on the podcast and hear you guys, your guys, or whatever it is. So,
But Jeremy, I still don't own jeans or cowboy boots or a cowboy hat. So
What? How do you not even own cowboy boots yet?
I own a pair of cowboy boots. I'm in Indiana.
Under Armour hasn't come out with them yet. I don't know.
you're not an all black.
Okay, I don't have any either, but
I guess to kind of start off with the question, I think just the biggest aspect of how it's affected me negatively is just you don't really know. So I've actually been working with track and field for the past 3 weeks because we've been in the process of hiring someone. And it really sucks because especially like me and one of the seniors have been talking a lot over the past 2 weeks, and we're like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? Just as like things start developing. And I was like, well, like this might affect some competition time, but like I have a hard time saying that like I think everything's going to get outright canceled. And then everything like started, I think it was Wednesday night when everything like started breaking loose. And then he like came in the next day and I'm like, okay, like this is looking bad, but like, you know what, they'll figure out a way. And it's just really like dealing with those kids because they've been prepping like they were supposed to be racing this next weekend. And they have been training so hard for this. Like some of them, I know like specifically for track and field, some of them have only compete in outdoor season. So then it's like they come in the next day and they're like, well, what's the point of all this then? Especially when they announced the championships were over. It's like, okay, so what's the point in practicing? What's the point in doing any of this? And it's really hard to give them answers for that just because nobody's ever been in this situation before. Like this has never happened. This is unprecedented. And for me, I think the biggest hardship has been like, I just don't know what to tell these kids. Because so many of them like use sports for an outlet and they really depend on like a lot of them do go to school for this. So I think that's just been probably the biggest thing. We've still been working. I still have student athletes in town. A lot of them have injuries. So we're still like doing rehabs and doing stuff, although our hours are limited. But I would say that's probably the biggest negative that's been affecting me. Everybody else is fine and
Yeah,
dandy
no
with
one else has
this?
anything. Now, I am seeing a lot on Twitter that there are concerns from athletic trainers about their paychecks and being able to pay bills and stuff. That's not a concern for me because I'm salary. Is that a concern for anybody in this chat?
well, I'm a grad student, so it's always been one. But no, I'm actually fine. I think because I mean for grad school they can't take it out of our payment or whatever. So even if we can't work, I'm assuming we still get paid. I don't really know yet, but I'll figure that out in a second. But as far as I know, yeah. The only thing with me is that, I have volleyball, which is a fall sport, and, my seniors got their senior year and we're just practicing. And so for some of them, the biggest thing is just boredom. I'm kind of hoping that they'll be smart and stay inside or, do things with less people and stuff like that. So that's more of my concern. So I don't necessarily feel the same as other people do about their athletes, not getting a senior year. So I don't really know how that feels. So I'm kind of just staying quiet about that, I guess.
For us being a salary employee, I'm not really worried about that. They haven't really told us a whole lot as far as what the expectation is as we, are actually off. Like I said, we're on spring break right now. And so we're not supposed to be working anyway, right? And the other thing too is the way I look at it is I have at last I saw over 50 days of vacation. So quite frankly, if they're going to, expect us to take vacation time, that's not a big deal, right? And then also, I also look at it and go, okay, well, even if I didn't have those vacation days, you want to see my, 700 hours of overtime that I've already worked this year? I think that'll count for something, right? But otherwise, like I said, I'm not overly concerned about that. And there's also plenty of admin work to be done that we can do remotely. And so I'll be doing some of that over the next, couple weeks for sure, and just kind of going from there. And I actually just got a text from Lindsay, from my assistant, asking about rehabs and how do we how do we go about handling some of that? Because we have quite a few post-op rehabs right now, and what do we do, right? Because now you're starting to see on social media, you're starting to see these outpatient clinics closing up too. Should physical therapy continue seeing patients? Should the orthopedic surgeons and others be doing elective surgeries and things like that? So, which might mean that what we are doing from a telehealth perspective becomes that much more important, because I see a lot of athletic trainers go, "Hey, we'll just push it off on physical therapy and send those kids to PT." Well, if the PT clinics aren't seeing patients, now what? And I think we're gonna have to figure out what we do from that perspective.
And then if you look at that, like our school district is going to start serving breakfast and lunch like a drive-through, like for the free introduced lunch people, but it's available for all students. And so if these kids are having to go up to school twice a day just to get food, are they really going to be able to get to a physical therapy clinic, pay the physical therapy clinic? So that's another situation there. As far as going back to the original question, right now, as far as we know, the salary is fine, but I've heard from somebody that, the district is going to be looking at things that we can do, because there's obviously a slight concern about continuing to pay us for 2 weeks or 3 weeks without us actually doing any work. And so, just reading through social media today, people were concerned about, well, if I'm teaching sports medicine, but I'm not used to teaching it online, how am I expected to all of a sudden flip that switch and create those online courses, right? And then, kind of right along the same thing is telemedicine. So here we are on a video call, but how many of us have been practicing telemedicine with our patients? So, if in a high school, I had previously set up a remind group that had, okay, well, text Jackson or Mata if you have a question about your injury, and then here, everybody, here's the, I'm going to have virtual office hours from 12 to 1 every day, so you can chime in the video chat and ask me questions, or I can watch you do your squats, or I can watch you do your exercises, that kind of thing. But not many of us in the athletic training have that set up and ready to go. And so there's definitely a lot of questions, and it's one of those, don't try to fix everything right now. Let's try to stop what's going on, take a breath, and then from there, let's see what we can do moving forward. If something else were to happen, let's have some measures in place. But I think financially, I'm fine here. To go back to your original question.
Yeah, I think financially, right now, because we actually had kind of like an impromptu staff meeting. Right now, since we're planning on resuming classes on March 23rd, then our argument was like, well, if the student athletes are on campus, even if they're not practicing, there's a lot of them that are post-op. There's a lot of them that have been nursing things. So there's plenty of us to do. I think the bigger question and the bigger, the question will be if we end up moving all of our classes to online, then, and depending on whether they're kicking people out of dorms or whether they're allowing them to stay in dorms, like whether the campus is staying open. So right now they're planning on resuming classes. I think that at least in our county, we haven't had any diagnosed cases yet. So I think that a lot of things could change if we do get a diagnosis in the area. So for right now, we're good. Because we do have a lot of administrative work. We're working on strategic planning. We're catching up on notes. Like even for some of my student athletes, since spring break was postponed a week, a lot of them ended up like going on an extra vacation, or they went to go see their family. So the couple that I was doing rehab with, I went on like HEP to go and, okay, here's your rehab that you're going to be doing for this week until you get back. I know that some of the more acute injuries, or if something else comes up that is really hard to kind of do with telemedicine. But for right now, just managing it like what we can, since we're not practicing, so there's nothing really new that's going on.
So for those injuries that can't be handled in telemedicine, so you need to be able to do that manual therapy for those fresh post-ops, and you need to be able to, help measure those angles. What are your thoughts there, Ashley, or anybody, about how can we safely continue to treat those rather than forcing them off to PT? Like, is it just you wear gloves and a face mask? I mean, what does it look like for you?
Really good question.
Uh,
I mean,
For us,
right now I
we're
don't
not
have
allowed
any that are like fresh post-op, so I don't think I would have to consider that at all. But
I think it would really depend on your admin if they even want you anywhere near athletics at all. Because some administrations might say, hey, we're shutting everything down. Don't come near anybody. And then you wouldn't, all you could do is the telestuff on the computer screens. So we might be in a time period where we can't even be touching patients depending on where you're at and how bad things are going or how conservative people are.
One thing I would say is like maybe know your patient's whereabouts. So, you know, I've had, we actually have physical therapists who do our post-op stuff, and they're still open and seeing our patients just because they need to. And, you know, I know one girl, they're in like Wyoming or Utah, like that's where most of my kids are from. And so I don't think there have been any like cases in Wyoming. I not actually know, maybe, but you know, I know they didn't go to California, or I know like a few of them went to a different city where there might be more cases. So I'm just kind of like just knowing where they've been in the past few days, that might just help you kind of figure out what precautions you need to take. So maybe like gloves and being really careful. I don't know. Like that.
Yeah. For us, we're not even allowed. So we were told to stay off campus this week. And then the following week, we can come on campus and work if we need to. However, they are encouraging us to do, you know, to work from home as best we can. But students are not allowed on campus that following week. And I actually anticipate that to last longer than just the 1 week. Where, like I said, they don't want kids anywhere near campus. But we were originally told that closed meant closed and that they were going to change the locks and shut down our IDs. And, you know, basically our campus would be locked down tighter than Fort Knox, is what we were originally told. And they've already backed off of that a little bit. So it's you know, a really fluid situation. I'm going to be curious to see where it goes from there.
Ours, same thing. I said, hey, I got a podcast on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Can I go up? It's just me and the microphone. That's all. There's nobody else. They said, no, they don't want anybody up there but the janitors and the principal. And so, like, in our situation, I couldn't go up to the school. And obviously, I'm not going to bring high school athletes over to my house to treat them. And, you know, we're going to, hey, let's meet at the park so I can do some manual therapy, because that's not creepy or unsanitary, right? And so it's a tricky situation, to whereas I'm thinking, like, I really want to make sure that these athletes are safe, but at the same time, I am a father. I have 3 kids, and if I left my 3 kids here at home with my wife for 3 weeks while they're not at school, like, I would come home to a huge mess, because the kids need something to do. They need structure. And so whenever I'm home, that's usually my job. I'll take them running. I'll go play in the backyard, or, you know, swinging hammers or lighting fires or whatever we're doing. And so somebody I was just looking at on Twitter, reading the whole thread, is allow the teachers to just be at home with their families or just to rest. Don't try and force them to make 25 days worth of lesson plans in 2 nights for something that they're not used to doing. And so it's interesting to see all the back and forth. And then, you know, here in Texas, in the high schools, we have standardized tests called the STAR test. And so then you see all the parents and stuff talking about, well, now are they going to be canceling the STAR test for this year? Because there's also the academic aspect of the athletics as well. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I saw, isn't there a petition going around to try and cancel the STAR testing for this year, just because since spring breaks are getting extended and since class time is getting taken away, you want to make sure the kids are still getting educated without just like pouring all the resources into studying for this test. Yes, that sort of testing is important, but with such a situation, like you said, that's as fluid as this, it's going to be interesting.
To say the least.
Okay, so let's go from negative to positive and try to think of some things we can do in the next couple of weeks that we have all this free time. I already know what I want to do. Besides like going to the gym, I want to start like cooking more of my meals and being really organized and catching up with people that I normally don't talk to because I'm busy, or even if that's not face to face but over the phone. But I definitely have some hobby stuff that I want to do. Is there things that you guys and girls plan on doing now because you have 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off, or not?
So one thing is, I think I saw Spencer Connell make a tweet about this a while ago. Just like, instead of cleaning your kitchen once a week or once every 2 weeks and like letting things build up, just like do a little bit every day so it's kind of always clean and it looks nice and you feel organized and kind of feel like your life's together and that kind of thing. That's something I want to do. Like, I'm looking around my kitchen and there's like salt and pepper on the table and I'm like, no. And just kind of keeping things organized, you know. And my boyfriend works night shifts, so, you know, and I've been doing a lot of stuff this spring, so we just let things build up. But now that I have time, it's like I want to take care of that. And then the other thing I'm trying to do is start running. I've been going to the gym a lot, but that's always something I wanted to do. And I wear a lot of barefoot shoes, so I'm trying to run in those, and it's kind of scary but really fun to figure that out. And yeah, so like these are just some fun things that I'm like trying to do to also keep my mind off, you know, stuff that's going on, and it's kind of scary, you know. So
Jen, you're in Utah, Wyoming area, and I've seen you like on Twitter, you posting pictures of you being out on the rocks and stuff like that, where you guys have some really cool outdoor adventuring stuff. And,
yeah,
you know, that's one of the really cool things that we can do is get outside away from people. And so that, you know, I honestly, I just enjoy like seeing those, because I would love to be out there and experiencing those, because I live in Pasadena, Texas, where it's flat and then there's chemical plants and then it's
yeah.
flat. So
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm definitely lucky. I mean, I've never been to Texas, so yeah. But it's nice
you need
having.
to come down here.
Yeah,
It's great.
It's nice having, you know, a little puppy right now to go out and do things with, and yeah, I'm definitely lucky, and it's nice that they're suggesting people go outside, because, you know, I'm out there and there's a lot of people walking around, but I don't go up to someone and like talk to them. You know, I'm like on the other side of the street, so that's just nice being away from people maybe for a little bit.
yeah.
So
I'd go outside, but the last 2 days it's been rainy, so keeps us from going outside.
Unfortunately.
Well, I made a list of things that I want to do, because otherwise I'll just sit there, you know. But that
All your
list
podcast ideas.
What's that?
All your podcast ideas.
Well, I have a huge list of that. And then even like Todd Sable just texted me this morning, hey, I got an idea for the podcast. When do you think we can do it? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I can't even get up to the school. So I was like, I love the idea. We're going to do it. I can't schedule anything because I don't know anything right now. Right. I mean, it could be 3 weeks before I can get up there and do anything. Right.
Todd's really fun to talk to. I enjoy talking to him a lot.
Yeah. Cool dude. So like I made a list on there, you know, so it's stuff, simple stuff. Like Jen said, like go to T-Mobile and see about getting a new phone for my wife, because it's got a cracked screen, and, you know, we have money saved up for it. So like, it'd be a perfect time. Or, you know, I want to we have, like I said, a 975-year-old kid. So I want to get the toys out of the living room and into their room, and whatever doesn't fit in there, then we sell or give away or something like that. So there's things around the house. I'm working on building a table, so I'm continuing to take apart pallets. And then also I have on there editing the posts for the upcoming episodes and that kind of thing. And then something that I'm working on is a sports medicine course, because all across the nation people teach sports medicine, but I wanted to create basically an online course that anybody can take and replicate and then customize to their setting, so that I can produce consistent, repeatable results with my student athletic training aids. And so I wanted it to be a self-paced course that I'm working on. So that's one of the things I can work on doing just a little bit each day and build and grow that. And then with Brendan Moriarty, we're working on making CEUs available for the sports medicine broadcast. And so we're working on creating those courses and making sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted and things like that. And so there's a lot we can do, a lot for me to do there, but making a list, because otherwise I'll just sleep in cuddled up next to my wife and, you know, fall for whatever trap she puts. Hey, let's watch this show. So
I like the idea of sleeping in, but there's also 3 o'clock this morning before I got to sleep. So because I slept all afternoon yesterday, but it doesn't take long for me to get out of my sleep pattern. But you know, one of the things that was on my list for spring break anyway was get my apartment cleaned up. It is a total disaster site, and it is normally a total disaster site. I mean, that's my life. But then also we're going to jump right in. You know, like I said, a lot of administrative work that can be done that, you know, I sit here and go, well, I wish I had time to do that. And now I have all the time in the world to do a lot of it, you know, and I'm also going to work on hopefully redoing a lot of my sports medicine coursework because I really haven't changed much of it in the 6 years that I've been teaching it. And quite frankly, a lot of the PowerPoints that I'm using are probably 13 or 14 years old and are a lot of it's out of date. You know, for example, I can sit here and look at the concussion PowerPoint and go, yeah, none of that's relevant anymore because it still talks about Cantu's concussion rating scale, right? And those sorts of things that I literally have never ever used clinically, you know, and so those sorts of things, and hopefully updating some of that information for next fall when I teach sports medicine again. So that's kind of what we have on the plans, you know, and like I said, now we're being told we can get back on campus starting next week. So that'll be good too if I actually can, because there's a lot I can get done on campus that I haven't had a chance to do, you know, because there won't be a soul in athletics. And so there's a lot of things, you know, we talk about social distancing. Well, if I'm completely by myself down in that end of the campus, I can get a lot of work done without, you know, without that interference or without that, you know, interaction that everybody's so worried about.
Yeah, so it's funny because we actually, like I said, I was temporarily covering track and field, and we have our new guy starting on Monday. So a great time to be starting a job. So it actually works out really well because we'll be able to kind of like sit down and talk about the track athletes I've been taking care of and get him like adjusted to things rather than like him starting on Monday and then literally traveling to a meet on Friday. Personally, I've been trying to do more gardening. I live in an apartment, so I'm really good at gardening like when it's in the ground, but I haven't figured out gardening in the pots yet. So that's one thing that I've been trying to tackle over this past week. And I actually have started listening to a lot of broadcasts. So Jeremy, I've been binging sports medicine broadcasts for a couple of days and just trying to like stay more up to date on stuff. I know that I definitely don't keep up with the research as much as I should during the year just because we all have crazy schedules. So trying to keep up more on that and also kind of echoing, I'd like to try and keep a cleaner apartment because that kind of falls apart during the year. So that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, my apartment is dirty Monday through Saturday. And Sunday I kind of sort of clean it up, and then Monday through Saturday it gets all bad and the dishes stock up and half the stuff in the fridge I need to throw out. What things can athletic trainers do during this time period to improve like their skills or their knowledge or the system that they're in? Like I know this week I'm going to hammer down emergency action plan and policies and procedures. Mike, you mentioned admin stuff. Do you have any specific examples, or does anybody have any, you know, like, hey, you should look at A, you should look at B, you should look at C?
So our goal is to jump into the PASS project. I've started it
That's a beast.
very briefly. I haven't even uploaded anything yet. But I want to sit down and work on some of that. You know, we also, policies and procedures can always be better, right? And I think this is a good time to start updating some of that stuff for next school year. We are also still hopeful to potentially bring on an additional staff member in the fall. That is a proposal we've put forth. And what I want to start to do is to build what that would look like so that we have that as additional background as we move forward. What would that look like? And like Ashley says, was saying with bringing on another person, we want to have a plan in place of when we bring on a third person, eventually, what do we do, right? And we can't just go, well, here it is, have fun, but let's actually have a process in place of who does this person need to meet, and from a team doctor perspective and physical therapist perspective, and what are the policies and procedures, what's our schedule going to look like, and all those sorts of things. So I'm hoping to go ahead and start building some of that, although we may not get that third person this year, but again, hopefully having some of that put together. And that way, when the business office and when administrators are asking, well, why do you need a third person? I mean, I've already demonstrated that with the AT value stuff, but I also want to be able to show what that looks like. What would it look like with a third person? What would our schedules look like, and things like that. So that's a couple things that I have on my agenda for admin work.
I know for our administrative work, the NCAA came out with a new best practices back over the summer. So our boss, our head athletic trainer, is currently starting to go through some of that stuff. He worked men's basketball, so his season just finished. But so I had talked to him a couple months ago about kind of diving into that and helping with some of that, because we have to go through what the best practices are, whether we meet them or not, what are the areas that we need to improve, what are the steps, do we need to, one thing that did come about is we're going to hire additional strength and conditioning coach for the university, and different things like that we're working towards. So that would be our athletic training administration. I am going to be hitting up MedBridge and the NATA career development, and trying to get some CEs in as well during this point.
Yeah,
I feel
NATA has one on AT value for you. Just saying.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm kind of in a weird spot just because as a grad student, I still have to do my online classes, which I need to do a lot of work the next few days. I'm finishing on my research paper, and that's a lot for me. I did my own intervention kind of thing, so I get to choose everything that I want to do, and it's overwhelming. And then I'm also looking for a job, so I feel like there are a lot of things that I'm overwhelmed with, and I'm just I don't know what to do. And I'm not even really thinking about admin stuff, because I'm I don't really do much. I just take care of my athletes and help out with other stuff when I'm needed. So it always feels weird to I'm I don't really have anything to say. I'm just kind of here, but
your admin stuff is trying to find a job right now.
Oh,
so.
that's, yeah, I guess so. But it is nice. Every time I kind of send a job application in, I kind of get excited, and I'm I could really see myself working there, wanting to work there, and I get excited, and I kind of look up what their mission statements are and everything. And when I have the time to, I think when I hear back from some more places, or if, I guess, I'll definitely want to look into more evidence-based practices, and just, I don't know, random stuff that I have on my computer saved I haven't read yet. And
hey, Jeremy, we got about 30 seconds, so if you have anything you want to quickly plug in there. No admin duties, things you want to, okay, great. I appreciate everybody coming.
And pass, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that pass document is a beast, man. There's 12 sections or 10 sections in each section, and it is crazy. But thank you for coming on. This is going to kick us all out in a moment.
Oh, no.
I appreciate your time, and have a great couple of weeks of doing you stuff. Take the time to veg out and relax and